A couple of days ago, I went to a Volkswagen UK press launch for the brand new 9th generation Volkswagen Passat. Great car, but almost £50,000. I'm about to go and pick up my new Passat from the British car auctions behind me. Thankfully, it didn't cost me £50,000. Actually cost me about £2,500. So wish me luck. I'm going to tell you more about it once we get it out on the road. But for now, let's head inside and go and find the car. Going to pick up a new car, which I'm very fortunate enough to do regularly, is great. You know it's going to be new, you know it's going to be perfect. Oh, is this it, Pat? This is it. First impressions, apart from the driver's seat, which we knew was going to be a bit worn and tired looking, the rest of the car looks nice. £2,500 for that, providing it starts. It's
Shop car, it's got a dead battery.
Yes.
There we go. Thank you very much.
So we've got the full service schedule in here with the V5. We've got a spare key. Looks like it's never been used. Beautiful. Does the seat go down? Oh, it does go down. Oh my God, I feel like I should review this car. Yes. How's it going, right? Do you like my new dream machine? Here it is, guys. My 2011 Volkswagen Passat 1.6 TDI Blue Motion Tech. The headlights, well, they could do with a bit of a polish, especially this left one. That's just several winters and summers in the UK. A couple of bits of rust on the bonnet, where stone's probably chipped. Even the wheels, they're in pretty good nick. One or two of them are slightly curved, but that doesn't matter. They've got Michelin tyres all round. We've got Primacy 4s on the front, and we've got Pilot Sport 4s on the rear axle. Just like to point out that this video series is heavily sponsored by Michelin. As you know, I'm a brand ambassador for Michelin. I have been for several years now. Very grateful about that. And we couldn't do what we're about to do without their help. Let's carry on around the back of the car. Paintwork, everything looks good. Trims, maybe a little bit jaded, needs a bit of polish, but everything else is good. Everything you see, it's not rot, it just needs cleaning. It needs a good deep clean. There's a couple of scratches and scuffs on the rear bumper, but nothing too serious. In here, we've got the rest of the floor mats. And under here, we've got a full-size spare. We close this, we've got a reversing camera, which was actually a dealer fit camera back in this era of Volkswagen. You could get a lot of dealer fit options like Bluetooth, the rear reversing cameras, etc. We know that because we can see it on the paperwork. Have a look inside, stunning in the back. Looks like basically no one's sat in there. It's a really nice place to be. There's plenty of room in there as well. Driver's seat, well, this is the first place you might see some wear and tear. You can see down here, it's just coming away. But again, this was all heavily documented on the BCA website. You get a lovely original leather Volkswagen case, which you probably wouldn't get in the new £50,000 Passat because probably a cost-saving measure these days. That's the original new car envelope that this customer got when he picked this car up. And in fact, that's the original brochure that he got when he wandered into the dealer before he'd even left a deposit. And he's left notes in here on what he was going to spec and the options he was going for, etc. We've got the new order form here. The Volkswagen Passat 1.6 TDI SE Blue Motion. It's a manual. The colour, it's not gold, it's cashmere. Thank you very much. The upholstery is desert beige leather. Special paint, nearly 400 quid before that. The leather was £1,429 before that, so that's 1,800-ish pounds, including that. That's 10% of the value of this car because it was £22,000 back in the day. We've got park assist, 500 quid, and the customer has requested to debadge the car because if we walk around the back, normally you'd have 1.6 TDI Blue Motion there. You don't get it on this car. So essentially, it's debadged like my M2. This guy is a man after my own heart. Let's jump inside and I'll catch up with you when we're on the road. You join me about 10 minutes later and I couldn't be happier. Car feels amazing. There's no squeaks or creaks or rattles. We've filled it up with diesel and we're now heading over to Surrey to Elite Garages in Horsham. Those guys and girls are going to give this Passat a full service and a full overhaul, a full look around, make sure everything is good. Buying one of these hasn't been the easiest process. They didn't sell loads of them back in the day, and they only sold them for a couple of years, so there's a small window. We needed it to be a saloon like this one. We needed it to be the 1.6 TDI, and Pat and I have been looking at them now for about the past 3 or 4 months. We've done a lot of miles in his Passat that I'm following at the moment, which is the newer Passat. So that's the 8th generation. This is a 7th generation. Our budget has been about £4,500 tops. Every single car and example that we've been to look at, most of which have been around the Birmingham area, have been absolute dogs. They really have been a complete waste of time. We did find one that we almost purchased, a red one up in Yorkshire. Looked really nice. It was a one-owner car. Then we did an HPI check. About 5 years ago, it seemed to have lost about 30,000 miles. So it obviously been clocked. But thankfully, Ben from the Car Vault company came to our rescue. We featured Ben on the Drive Talk podcast a couple of months ago. Really lovely bloke that runs a beautiful car storage facility, and he's a high-end car trader, certainly not a Passat trader. He utilised his platforms, found this car, and then was able to bid on it, because not everyone can bid on British car auctions. You need to be a trader. If you've made it this far into the video, you're probably sitting there wondering, why has Joe gone out and bought himself a 13-year-old goldish Passat? The back end of 2020, I took my 730 LD chauffeuring car at the time around the UK on a one-tank challenge. It wasn't the ideal journey because the weather was really bad and we had a load of lockdowns going on in the UK, lots of traffic, etc. But I managed to squeeze just over 900 miles from one tank in that 730 LD. A couple of years later, Patrick and I temporarily purchased a 2016 BMW 730D and drove that from London to Madrid on one tank of diesel. And in fact, when we got to Madrid, which was over 1,000 miles away, we still had 100 miles of range left. Theoretically, that 7 Series had a range of just over 1,100 miles, which is nearly 1,800 kilometers on one tank of diesel. Anyway, I'm going to switch the cameras off. We'll join you tomorrow morning at Elite Garages. Good morning, guys. We're down here at Elite Garages in Horsham, Surrey. The wonderful Passat is in their diagnostic bay, and the wonderful Brian has just taken it out for a drive. I'm not going to ruin anything, but he did come back with a big smile on his face saying it really drives very well, which backs up exactly what I said yesterday. I have to say, it's a family-run business and you can really feel it in there. We're going to head in there in a couple of minutes to talk to Brian and have a look at what he diagnosed as issues and things that need replacing. How is the Passat looking?
Considering it comes from a car auction, it's very, very good. You need, the drop links need doing each side because they're very cheap. One side's got a plate, so you might as well do both.
Okay, yep.
The rear pads are low,
Yep.
very low, so we put new disc and pads on the back. It's electronic handbrake, so we use the laptop to do that, get it all going. Everything else is remarkably good.
And I have to say my M2 probably looked more corroded underneath than this.
Yeah, this
does.
is very, like you say up there, it's extremely good. We're doing an oil change now.
Yep.
Then you want to do a regular oil change because you have glow plugs, you have an EGR valve, which all helps towards nitrous oxide, because when the engine gets to a certain temperature, it creates nitrous oxide. So we put an EGR valve in it, they do that, and a DPF. So when you get the temperature down, it causes soot. So
Yep.
then you get clogged up. So that DPF there is to catch the soot. So to keep the oil good,
Yep.
is very important because the oil runs all through this. Also runs a turbo. The
Okay.
turbo runs about 1,000 degrees.
Wow.
So it's good to have that all working. Everything else will be fine, but Just regular oil change. You'll go and where?
Well, we haven't actually told the audience yet.
Oh,
but
right.
that's, and then, of course, we're going to put it down and have a look at a few other bits and pieces. He's going to test the battery and a few other bits. Well, I'll let you crack on, mate. I'm not going to bother you for too much longer.
Lovely.
We'll catch up with you in a bit.
Lovely. Thank you.
We've come outside because the sun is shining and Brian is in there working away on the Passat. And I thought I'd introduce you to the lovely Kelsey.
Hello.
Who has been our point of contact down here at Elite Garages. Tell us a little bit about you, your family and Elite Garages, if you don't mind.
We've been a family business for just over 60 years. So my grandparents started the business as a single workshop and petrol station.
Yep.
There's now 3 generations of the family working together, which is lovely. I know you met my brother Josh today as well.
I have.
So yeah, at this location we've got the petrol station behind us and the workshop as well. We've got 18 workshops across the south of England, 9 petrol stations, also a standalone Morrison's supermarket, and a tyre wholesale business. So yeah, it's grown massively over the years, but very much still a family business.
And when you look at the reviews online, they're very, very good. So
Thank you. Yes,
I think
yes.
a lot of that, and you can see why. You don't
Yeah.
really have to leave this area, do you?
Yeah,
You just
exactly. A lot of synergies. So yeah, obviously you can fill up with your fuel, get your service done, get your MOT, and it's all on the same site.
And we're just really grateful that you guys are working on the car and making it as good as possible.
Yeah, we're glad to be a part of it, so thank you.
Thank you. Cheers, Kelsey. As you know from when we picked the car up from the British car auctions yesterday, it just happened to have some premium Michelin tyres on it. It had Primacies on the front axle and PS4s, these ones, on the rear axle. Now, normally that would not be a worry or an issue at all. It was really nice that it came with good rubber. But because this massive challenge that we've got happening in a couple of weeks' time revolves around efficiency, we would have been silly not to clad the car with some E-Primacy tyres. Now, I'm very familiar with the E-Primacy tyre because it is a tyre that helped Patrick and I to that 1100 mile challenge that we did with the 7 Series BMW. They helped to make a huge difference in terms of efficiency, and obviously the further that journey is, the bigger difference they make, and the more miles they're essentially going to add to your tank or to your electric car. But in order to be super efficient, what we've done is we've sourced a set of 16-inch B7 Passat wheels off the Blue Motion, but they did an S model, which was the entry level. So we downgraded the wheels to slightly smaller wheels because you then end up with a slightly smaller tyre and a slightly narrower tyre. So these are now 205 section as opposed to 235. Slightly smaller contact patch, more efficient tyre. Something we hadn't discussed, talked about, or even thought about was that the smaller wheel and tyre is almost definitely going to weigh less than the original bigger wheel and wider, larger tyre. So I think I need to go and find Kelsey and see if they've got some scales here and we can weigh them both, because of course wheel and tyre weight is important because it's unsprung mass. So if we are losing a little bit of weight, then it's going to help us a little bit in that way as well. I need your help.
Yep.
We need to weigh some wheels.
Okay.
And I'm just wondering if you've got any scales in there that are big enough to weigh some wheels.
Probably not in the workshop.
Okay.
But we do have a post office in our petrol station. We could try that.
So is this like normal then?
Not really. Don't think we've done this before.
Oh, okay. So it's
I'm sure we've had other weird and wonderful things.
Are we able to use your scales to weigh a couple of wheels? Let's start with the 17-inch. So this is the original wheel with the bigger tyre, 20.1, so 20.2 kilos ish.
Yeah.
The new. So this is the 16-inch with the narrower 205 E-Primacy. So that's at 3 kilos a corner. Right then, guys, as you've just seen, the wonderful Passat has been transformed next door. Josh has just fitted the wheels and Michelin E-Primacy tyres. The car's also had an alignment because obviously that is very important. We found that a couple of the wheels, especially on the front axle, had excessive toe-in, which is not only going to cause excessive tyre wear, but it's going to cause scrub and therefore take away some of the fuel economy of the car. After that, Pavel has worked wonders on the headlights, because one of them was really, really cloudy and just weathered, I guess you'd say. And the other one wasn't that great. And now they both look like brand new headlamp units. In fact, Josh just jokingly off camera said, I think we should charge you for 2 new units because they look that good. So very pleased about that. We've had the rear discs and pads fitted, all Bosch components.
With the gold Bosch service, you'll have all of your filters done. So that's fuel, air, cabin.
Yep.
As well as obviously the oil added.
Okay.
In that, we would always check the alignment to make sure that's ready. And then we'd check all safety components, including suspension, brakes, seat belts. We've also fitted Bosch wiper blades on the front.
And yeah, we're getting the cam belt and water pump done because earlier on, Brian was looking through the service history of the car, and the last time that was done was 4 or 5 years ago. So it's past its sell-by date. And with a component like the cam belt or the water pump, if they fail on this trip that you still don't know about properly, it's going to be a fail, and that would be a nightmare. So we're going to leave Brian, Josh, and everyone else here to sort the Passat out, fix that up, while Pat and I go and sit in his wonderful Passat out there and book the rest of this trip, because there's a lot of logistics that need to be put into place. Next time I see you guys will be in Africa. Big thanks to Elite Garages down here in Horsham. Honestly, it's been a fantastic day, and the sun even shines apparently all the time down here. So yeah, couldn't thank them enough. And of course, Michelin UK. Take it easy. Hey, how's it going? Very good, thanks. I just wanted to send this second class to Jersey, and that was going to be recorded to Australia.